In this tutorial, we're going to go through Lecture 10, Fundamentals of 3D Modeling, Part B. We'll be following the handout posted on Canvas, and today we'll be focusing mostly on the Create ribbon. We're going to start creating a box with this last handout, but we created boxes only by inputting coordinates. Today we're going to do that by providing the dimensions of the box. So I'm going to click Box. That second or that first click, the specify first corner, you can click anywhere, or you can give it the coordinates at least for that first point. So 2, 2, 0, enter. Now, instead of specifying the next corner, I'm gonna type L for length because I want to give AutoCAD the length of that box. So L, enter. Then I'm just gonna make sure my F8 or ortho is on. And now I'm gonna type the length in the X direction, which is 10. Then the second distance is the length on the other direction, or the width of the box, which is 8. And now the height. So I'm moving my cursor up and typing 4. Next, we're gonna select sphere and create a sphere. That first click can be anywhere, or you can give it the coordinates for the center point. So in our handout, we have the coordinates, so 20, 20, 0, enter. And now it's asking me to specify the radius, but we have a diameter of 4. We can type D, enter, and type the diameter, which is 4, enter. The next command is the cylinder. So I'm gonna select cylinder. That first click is the center point of the base, so you can click anywhere. Now you can give it a radius or diameter, so we can type 2. And now I can give it the height. We can also create a cylinder with an elliptical face. For that, I'm gonna click cylinder. Before specifying the center point, I'm gonna type E for ellipse, enter. And now I am clicking to specify the first axis, the endpoint of the first axis. So I'm clicking here, and now we have coordinates, so you can click in any direction as well, or you can give it the coordinates for those second points. So now we're gonna type 10, 0, 0, and then in the other direction will be 5, 3.5, 0. So now I have an elliptical base, and if I move my cursor up, I can type 4, and now I have a cylinder with an elliptical face and a height of 4. Next, we have a cone. Similar with the cylinder, you can have a cone with a circular base or with an elliptical base. If you want a circular base, you can just click the center point, give it the radius or diameter that you prefer, and then type a height. For the elliptical base, we can select cone, and before clicking that first point, we're gonna type E, enter. We're gonna specify the endpoint of the first axis, then specify the other endpoint of the axis, and then in the other direction, so the endpoint of the second axis. And now I can give it the height that I prefer. We can also draw a cone with a circular base at the top. So I'm gonna select cone, gonna pick a random point, gonna give it a diameter of 3, a radius of 3, enter. Before specifying the point, I'm going to type T, enter, and now I'm gonna give it the diameters of the second base or the top radius, which for this case is 2, enter. Now I can give it the height. For our activity, the height is 5. Now we're gonna create a wedge. select the wedge. I'm gonna specify the first corner. Then the second corner we have dimensions of 10, 10, 0. So a square base, and then I can move my cursor up and down and specify the height. In this case is 4, enter. So these are some of the standard shapes that AutoCAD has, but you can create anything on 3D. And the command to do that is called extrude. So you can draw everything on 2D first and then extrude it or give it a depth. So for example, if we create a polygon in the 2D plane, and remember that when you draw in 2D, you will always be drawing in the X and Y plane. So I'm gonna enter the number of size, 6, enter, specify the center of the polygon. I'm gonna select circumscribe about circle, and then the we don't have a radius, so I'm just gonna click anywhere, and now we have our hexagon in the 2D plane, and now I'm just gonna give it a depth. For that, I'm gonna extrude. So in create, you can select extrude, select the object, enter, and now you can give it a depth. You can type the depth of 6, enter, and now I have an hexagon in 3D form. You can also draw any arbitrary shape that you want and turn it into a solid. So if we select line, you can just create a bunch of lines, random lines. Just remember that be careful because you can change axes and the Z axis at any point. So just make sure that you're drawing everything on the 2D or XY plane, and then escape. And now important in this case is the figure has to be close. So this was my first point, then that should be my final point. Before extruding it, we have to join this line. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 objects or lines. You will want to have only one. So for that, we're gonna type join. I'm gonna select all the lines that we wanna join and then enter. Now we have only one shape or one object. Now you want to extrude this. So now I select extrude, select the object, enter, and now you can give it any depth you want. It's important that you join all the lines first before extruding it, because if not, it will extrude only that line and not the object. So what I mean by that, if you create another shape in 2D and you don't join them, then if you try to extrude this, it will look something like that, right? So it will only extrude the lines and not the object per se. We can also create a 3D solid object by rotating a 2D shape around an axis of revolution. So if we create this 2D shape, we can join and then we can revolve it. So I can select the object, enter, you can select the axis that you want to rotate it against, and then you can extrude it by rotating it any type of angle that you want. So you go 90, enter, then you extruded that 2D shape by rotating it 90 degrees. We have two edit commands. Last class we practiced with union, but if you have two objects intersecting each other, so if we create another box on top of this one, and instead of having two objects, we want to have one, we can select union, select both objects, and then press enter. Now I have only one object. And we can also subtract anything that it's intersecting. So if you go cylinder, just gonna create a random cylinder here that goes all the way through my shape. And now I'm gonna subtract this cylinder to we wanna subtract this cylinder from the box. So I'm gonna select subtract. Then your first click is always gonna be the bigger shape. Then enter. Then select the part that you wanna subtract, enter, and now you have subtracted that object from the main one.